This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, you read the title, LeBron does it again. I mean, this is 8 straight years the guy has made it to the finals, okay? 8 straight. The only 2 players I think that have done something like that, I think it was Sam Jones, who did it 9 years in a row with the Celtics, and then Bill Russell did it for like 10. All right. It's a bit ridiculous how many times LeBron has gotten back. And of course, you see the arguments that the East is terrible. If LeBron went out West, he wouldn't be able to do it. Well, I mean, if you think about the West, it's just the Warriors or Rockets. Okay, you can't tell me that the New Orleans Pelicans are a team who would do anything in the East. Okay. The Trailblazers, they finish as a 3 seed. They get swept in the first round. Honestly, the league has always been one that's been dominated by a few teams. It's never been as open as people love to imagine it. Okay? In the 60s, you had the Celtics. In the 70s, it was the Lakers and Sixers. In the 80s, it was the Celtics, Lakers, and the Sixers for a couple years. 90s, it was the Lakers for the early part, along with the Pistons. Okay? Then the Bulls. And then for the 2000s, let's not act like the Lakers and Spurs were the only teams who were making it out the West. Okay? And then now we're at a point where it's the Warriors and and LeBron. The league's always been dominated by a few teams. It's never been as, like, I don't understand this whole little notion of like it used to be open. Like, no, that's not the case at all. Okay? If you think about those Knicks teams back in the 90s, cool. They got bounced in the playoffs every year. All right? That's always been different. Or it's always been the same thing. Nothing's ever changed. So as far as the whole East is weak, West is better, I mean, how is the West better when it's only one team who's made it out the last few years? Okay. I mean, just think about it. Just think about the arguments. All right? That's all I got to say. But nonetheless, let me tell you what we got going on today. All right. We got this game, Game 7, between Celtics and Cavs. We're going to recap in the first segment. Second segment, we had the Champions League final we're going to talk about. All right, Real Madrid and Liverpool. Got a whole lot of thoughts on that one, especially about Sergio Ramos, whether or not he did it intentionally as far as bringing Mohamed Salah down and hurting his shoulder. I'll tell you whether I think it was intentional or not. And then for the third segment, we're going to be talking about tonight's Game 7 between Houston and Golden State. It's going to be a good one, all right? But it seems like Chris Paul is going to be out, which is a bit of a shame. Well, not a bit of a shame. It is a shame, just given that the Rockets obviously have played way better against the Warriors when they had Chris Paul. But, I mean, actually, you know what? We'll talk about Game 6. Yeah, we'll talk about Game 6 in the third segment and then move on to Game 7, preview that all in the third segment. And then for the fourth segment, we're going to talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. All right, we're going to talk about the Celtics' future. Kyrie Irving not being there for Game 7. It seems like it's starting to turn into a bit of a story. All right. And pretty much, like I said, talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. So that's how the show's going to go. It's going to be a fun one, as it always is usually for me. All right. So, yeah, let's talk Celtics-Cavs Game 7. All right. Going into this game, Boston had only won one road game so far this postseason. This series is the home team who took every game. And, I mean, something had to give, right? It's very difficult for a team to make it to the finals after only winning one game on the road. Okay, I don't even think it's ever been done. I think the only team, like the least amount of games it's taken is 2 to get to the finals, and that was the 08 Celtics team. Only won 2 road games. All right, so obviously in the postseason, if you're not competing on the road, that's going to be a problem, and that's what it was for Boston. It was a problem. All right, but going into Game 7, I mean, you got LeBron, who is pretty much a monster in elimination games. Can't be stopped. And you got the Cavs, who were a more experienced team. All right? I've been sticking with my Celtics in 7 pick. I mean, it came close. Obviously, it was Cavs in 7, but nonetheless, logically going into the game, you kind of knew, well, I kind of had in my mind that the Cavs were going to win, but I didn't want to flip-flop or anything like that. So that's why I ended up sticking with the Celtics. All right, but nonetheless, I mean, the Cavs ended up winning this one 87-79. The Cavs trotted out a starting 5 with Kevin Love being out of Jeff Green, LeBron, Tristan Thompson, George Hill, and J.R. Smith. Jeff Green had 19 points, 8 rebounds, also had an assist and a block. He shot 7 of 14, 2 of 9 from the three-point line. LeBron had 35 points, 2 blocks, 9 assists, 15 rebounds, 12 of 24 shooting, 3 of 8 from the three-point line. Tristan Thompson had 10 points, 9 rebounds, shot 4 of 4. George Hill, he had 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 2 of 6, 0 of 2 from the three-point line, but was a plus 24 out there, which was by far a team best, okay? The next highest was J.R. Smith and Tristan Thompson with a plus 14. All right. And you had, speaking of J.R. Smith, he had 12 points, 4 rebounds, shot 3 of 8 from the three-point line. That's where all the shots came from. I mean, first half, he looked terrible. All right, the Cavs couldn't shoot the ball to save their lives for the first half. Second half comes out. It's a completely different team, all right? But nonetheless, like I said, J.R. Smith had 12 points. He played 42 minutes in this one, so it was a big game by J.R. Big, like I said, just a lot of production there. Larry Nance, he had 2 points, 2 rebounds, shot 1 of 2, only played 8 minutes, was a -9. And this is one thing, too, I liked about Tyronn Lue for this game, was that he actually made in-game adjustments. He saw that Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson weren't bringing anything to the table, all right? Clarkson had 0 points, was a -13, didn't have a steal, assist, or rebound. He shot 0 of 2. He only played 9 minutes, all right? Like I said, it was a -13, which was the team worst, okay? And one thing with Ty Lue, too, that I've seen so far, well, I saw in the Eastern Conference Finals series, was that he sticks with he sticks with the game plan too much. Okay, he doesn't make in-game adjustments. And like I said, obviously for Game 7, he changed that when you take out Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson, obviously when they're not helping you. So I tip my cap to Ty Lue there. Obviously still, I don't think he's a great coach by any means, but he finally got it right this time. All right. Then you had Kyle Korver, who played 18 minutes. Kyle Korver was also bad. All right. 1 of 6 from the three-point line. All his shots came from there. Only had 3 points, was a -5, had 4 fouls. So obviously Kyle Korver didn't really bring anything to the table there. And then obviously Jose Calderon, Rodney Hood, all those guys sat. All right. And I mean, I'm kind of jealous of Kendrick Perkins. He's getting paid just to pretty much just be a veteran leader out there. All right. Not playing, not doing anything. I mean, that's the life. Al Horford for the Celtics. He had 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, shot 7 of 12, 0 of 1 from the three-point line. All those points came in the first half, basically. All right, second half came, and Al Horford was basically non-existent. Jason Tatum, who was out there for not the entire game, but pretty much he played well the entire game. He had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 assist, shots 9 of 17 from the field, 2 of 6 from the three-point line. The Celtics really got something there with Tatum. All right, Danny Ainge trading back with Philly, getting that 3rd pick and taking Tatum, and then also getting the Kings pick for next year, unless it's the first pick. Was another genius move by him. But like I said, Tatum, I mean, he's going to be a superstar going forward. All right, he's basically, I mean, I don't want to jump out too far and be too much of a prisoner of the moment, but with the way he played this postseason, he was, I think, the Celtics' best player, unless you want to go with Horford. All right, Jaylen Brown was for like the first 2 rounds, but was just a little too inconsistent for me. All right, then you had Aaron Baines. He played 19 minutes. He had 3 points, 5 rebounds. I mean, not much there. Terry Rozier, extremely disappointing in this series and extremely disappointing in Game 7. All right, he had 4 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, shot 2 of 14, did not hit a 3, went 0 of 10 from the three-point line. And I mean, Boston could have did with a couple of threes from Terry Rozier. He had a bunch of open looks throughout the game, and it's just, I'm not sure if it was just jitters or I'm not sure what happened. All right, the guy played so well in the first two rounds, and then once the Eastern Conference Finals came, I mean, maybe it was just the whole thing where he's just too young for the moment. All right, but like I said, he went 2 of 14, 0 of 10 from the three-point line. Jaylen Brown had 13 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 5 of 18, 3 of 12 from the three-point line. Jaylen Brown, like Terry Rozier, was extremely disappointing in this series. All right, extremely. And then off the bench, you had Marcus Smart, who had 4 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, shot 1 of 10, 0 of 4 from the three-point line. And then Marcus Morris had 14 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, shot 5 of 14, 2 of 6 from the three-point line. All right. So obviously the team who came out of this series was the Cavs. Like I said, LeBron heading over to his 8th straight finals. And, I mean, it's just been pure dominance. All right, I was born in 1996. I didn't really get to catch Jordan. I mean, the only real Jordan memories I have is of him playing on the Wizards. Of course, you get to go back, study up some more, watch old games that they show on NBA TV, read up on them and stuff like that. So I do know about Jordan and all that, nonetheless. But it's just a matter of LeBron James is the most dominant player I've ever watched in the NBA, okay? Kobe was great. Tim Duncan was good. Well, great also. But it's just I haven't seen anything like LeBron James. And I was thinking too, okay, back in 2003 when he was coming into the league and people were pretty much, he's the chosen one, all right? And for him to be as dominant as he has since coming into the league and like still being the best player in the league right now is a bit ridiculous, isn't it? I'm not really sure that anyone really thought that LeBron James would be this. I'm sure people thought, yeah, he's going to be one of the best players in the league. All right, but I don't think anyone thought he'd be as dominant. All right. So it's been, I mean, this is probably one of his best postseason runs ever, if not his best. Okay. And as far as moments, I mean, him beating the Warriors when they were down 3-1 is probably his top moment all time. But I mean, getting this team to the finals has got to be up there. Okay. And then you see LeBron after the game talking about how, like, his team, like, people who didn't play the game don't really know what the teammates bring to the table and all that. And they helped him and he wouldn't have got here without him. I mean, like, that's cool and you want to pump your teammates up and all that. But in reality, you don't need to touch a basketball in order to see how bad this team was this postseason. Okay? LeBron really didn't have help this postseason. And people point to Game 7. And think about it. The Cavs have played 7 games this series, 7 games in Indiana. So they played about 18 games so far. Okay, I'd say I don't think there was one game in Indiana where I'll give them one game where I guess the team played well. Okay, so one game in India against Indiana out of 7. Okay, against the Raptors, yeah, they played well, all of them. So I'll give them 5. Okay, and then against the Celtics, I'll say that it was probably the 2 games at home, and then this game 7. So it's about 10 out of 18 games that the team has played well. Okay, and I'm really pushing it there, giving them what in Indiana. But as far as it all goes down, I mean, this team hasn't been great. It's been LeBron carrying this team, okay? And he's going to have to do the exact same thing in the finals. And then with the Celtics, in Game 7, it was just a matter of they're too young, okay? It's a good team, not ready yet, and you saw, all right? Once it hit the point, there was a point in the fourth quarter where you saw it was basically they were pushing a bit, okay? They weren't really, like, they were forcing things instead of running the offense and trying to get easy points. Okay, the fact of the matter, with Terry Rozier taking as many threes as he did in the fourth and missing as many, he probably shouldn't have been shooting the ball. And I saw people saying too, like, why didn't Brad Stevens take out Rozier, Brown, and all those guys because they're struggling? Who are you going to put in for him? Marcus Smart wasn't shooting the ball. Marcus Morris was okay. All right, so it's just a matter. I think the moment got a little too big for the Celtics. Jason Tatum did well to handle it, but I think for the rest of the team, yeah, it was just way too big of a moment. So, I mean, as far as the Cavs go, this is a big win for them. Obviously, now you're heading over to the finals. You got, you're gonna have your chance to play Golden State or Houston. We're gonna talk about that game for in segment 3, but nonetheless, I mean, it's a bit ridiculous how well LeBron is, like how good LeBron has been over his entire career. And this season, like this is his 15th season, I believe. This might be his best season ever, honestly. All right. Just given the circumstances and pretty much what he's had to do for this team. But like I said, Cleveland ended up winning this series in 7. All right, they won 87-79. Like I said, I applaud Ty Lue for making in-game adjustments finally for Game 7. And it's just the Cavs were the better team on this given day. So we're going to wrap it up there. Next up, we're going to be talking Champions League final between Liverpool and Real Madrid. Got a lot of thoughts on that. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We spent that first segment talking about Game 7 between the Celtics and Cavs. Cavs came out on top. I believe it was 87-79. Boston was hanging around. I mean, was the best team in the first half, but once the second half came and it came down to pretty much just who wanted more, it was the Cavs. All right, and I don't know if that's the right term as far as who wanted more. I just think it was one where Boston was inexperienced, and LeBron and that team, it's a bunch of vets. They know what they had to do to get it done. So, like I said, Cavs advancing to the finals. This will be LeBron's 8th straight finals in a row, I believe it is. So, I mean, it's just pure dominance right there. All right. But now, we're going to head over to the soccer world. We had the Champions League final taking place on Saturday. One of the biggest finals in the world. All right. Probably the biggest besides the World Cup final as far as club tournaments go. This is the biggest one. Okay. And my pick for this game was Liverpool 3-2 heading into it. All right. And, I mean, I'm sure some probably thought that was a bad pick and all that. Why not pick Madrid? I mean, that's probably the most logical pick, and it would have been, okay? But it was a point where I thought Liverpool were going to be able to pull it off. So we get into the game, and you're watching. And for the first, the first 20 or so minutes, Liverpool's dominating, okay? Liverpool was the better team up until Mohamed Salah gets hurt. All right. And I think that's not crazy of me to say. All right. And obviously watching the game, you're looking, and I got to figure out like which minute Salah went out. But it's a point where if you saw the foul, okay, on Ramos, how do you not think that it wasn't intentional? Okay. Sergio Ramos is probably my favorite player in all of soccer. All right, just given that when I used to play, I was a defender, and you pretty much just look up to the guys that play your position. All right. So it was in the 30th minute when Salah comes out. All right. So I'd say, but I think Ramos was a few minutes before that where Ramos took down Salah. So I'd say for the first 27 minutes, so I guess basically the first 30 minutes of the game, Liverpool were the better team. It looked like they were going to get a goal. All right, Real Madrid were the ones who were defending the entire time, and they really had no answer. Okay, so yeah, we get to the 27th minute or whenever Ramos first pulled them down, and I mean, if you're watching it, their arms get tangled and all that, but you can kind of see that Ramos has like a lock on his arm. Okay, and as they're going down, Ramos easily could have let go. Okay, easily. He didn't have to keep his arms wrapped up around Salah's. All right. Easily could have let him go, and didn't even let him go until pretty much they tumbled on the ground a bit. All right, and if you're going to tell me that wasn't intentional, which we'll probably never know, Ramos is going to go out and say that probably wasn't. I think, allegedly, that it was. Okay, and like I said, I mean, the guy had his arm wrapped around him. Why not just let go? Okay. I even saw someone say that Salah had his arm wrapped around Ramos. What game were you watching? All right. But honestly, I need someone to go look at it and tell me that he couldn't have let go. All right. Ramos, as good as a defender he is dirty. Okay. And I think we all know that, right? Probably the best center back in the world, just given everything, his whole career. Okay? There's a point where those little moves that he's doing and all that, the dirty stuff, I mean, it gets kind of old. Like I said, he's one of my favorite players, but it's a point where you watch it and it kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth because that changed the game right there. Soon as Salah comes out, I mean, it just seems like Liverpool were a completely different team. I mean, they were trying and they weren't bad or anything like that, but it's just a point where obviously you weren't as dynamic as you would have been with Salah in there. All right, so the game goes on. Madrid's on the attack, and then in the, the 51st minute, Benzema scores. All right, and that was on Karius, okay? That was on the goalie. He shouldn't have made that mistake. I understand that it's a lot of pressure. He's never been in this kind of situation before, but you're a professional goalkeeper. You need to get it together, okay? Nonetheless, he makes a mistake, and goalies make mistakes. So it's only 1-0. 55th minute comes, and Sadio Mane scores a goal. And with Mane, I'd say that he was probably Liverpool's best player once Salah came out. And even you could even say so even when Salah was in. All right, Mane was causing trouble for that Real Madrid defense the entire time. And he almost had 2 goals, but one of them hit the post. All right, so he scores in the 55th. That makes it 1-1. Then Gareth Bale comes in, okay? And I don't understand what Zidane's problem was with Gareth Bale, and it seems that Gareth Bale will most likely be leaving this summer because obviously this season with Madrid, Gareth Bale wasn't getting week-to-week starts or anything like that. It was more so, I don't know. I don't understand why, okay? I don't think Bale is bad enough to where he needs to be on Madrid's bench and come off there. I think he's starting 11 material for that team. But nonetheless, when he comes on, pretty much makes an instant impact. All right, hits a bicycle kick goal in the 64th minute, which was, I mean, people are saying that is the best Champions League final goal ever. I think it was Zidane's volley. It's still better. All right. And I think, and obviously, was it? Yeah, I think it was better. Just given, I mean, the time of the match and just the goal itself. All right, I will take Zidane's goal, but obviously you can't really knock a bicycle kick. All right. And with Bale, I mean, it's a point where he's continuously showed up in big games for Madrid, okay? Whether it was their first Champions League final against Madrid, where I think he scored in extra time, I believe it was, when Di Maria made that good run. And then there was the Copa del Rey, where him and Marc Bartra went into a race, and Bale pretty much just wiped the floor with him, ended up scoring the game-winning goal there, and then obviously right here. All right, Bale has always seemed to have a knack for the big moments, and like I said, I just don't understand why Zidane has continuously kept him on the bench and then brought him out as a sub. That makes no sense to me. Okay, usually you do have your best players out there. All right, but nonetheless, he scores there, and then we get to the 83rd minute, and Bale hits a shot from outside the 18 of far ways out, and Karius again makes a mistake. Okay, ball knuckles a bit. Karius doesn't really know what to do with it, tries to block it out, and ends up blocking it into his own net. After that, you knew it's over. Liverpool have no shot at coming back, especially given there's only about 10 minutes left if you're including stoppage time, and they had to get 2 goals. All right. So the game ends up ending 3-1. My takeaways from the game, Liverpool, up until Salah got hurt, were the better team. Madrid knows how to pick their moments, and Salah's injury was intentional by Sergio Ramos. Okay. And of course, we didn't have Ronaldo scoring in this game, and this is one thing where I don't really like about the guy, is that after he pretty much tried to make it about him. All right. Said that in the coming days he was going to make a decision about his future and that he had enjoyed his time in Madrid. Obviously, that's implying that, you know what, I'm probably going to be leaving this summer. Okay, and let me see if I was paraphrasing a bit. Was basically what I got right. The exact quote was, in the coming days, there will be a decision about my future. It has been very nice playing for Real Madrid. So like I said, that's basically insinuating, you know what, I'm probably going to move on to something else this summer. Probably going to leave the club. All right, and Bale also pretty much hinted that he's going to be leaving because he wants regular time, which I believe, all right? Bale most likely, yes, is leaving. And then you got the next day at Madrid's trophy presentation and all that, Ronaldo saying, you know what, I'll be back next year. I don't understand with Ronaldo. He always needs to be in the spotlight. All right, and I'm not sure if he was too happy about Bale scoring that bicycle kick goal. All right, Ronaldo, as much as some may think, he's not a team guy really. All right, I'll never forget when Ramos ended up scoring the game-tying goal in the Champions League final against Atletico off of that corner kick, and you see all the team running to the corner flag to celebrate him, and way down the field by himself was Ronaldo. All right, and I understand Ronaldo was hurt in that game, but there's a point where I could care less. You need to be out there with a team. All right, so Ronaldo's never really been a team guy. I think he's more of a me guy, which is fine. I mean, that doesn't bother me at all, but I'm just pointing that out. All right, and as far as where Gareth Bale could end up, it seems like the team that keeps popping up is Manchester United, and I think he'd be a good fit there, but it's just a point where I'm kind of nervous because of the fact that every player that seems to go play for United now that Mourinho's there seems to play worse than what they did before at their former team. All right. Would like to see him maybe head back to Tottenham, but I don't think that's going to happen given that it's going to be tough for Tottenham to splash that kind of money given that they got to buy other players too. All right, but as far as the game goes, I mean, Liverpool did about as well as you can after losing your best player due to an injury. And now it's just a point of focusing on whether or not Salah is going to be available for the World Cup. And it's looking like he might be. I saw that the Egyptian team doctors, national team doctors, took a look at him. He's going to be rehabbing his injury back in England. And I mean, it is a shoulder injury, so I think that makes it a little bit better for Salah. If it was an ankle injury or anything like that, that'd be a big problem. He probably wouldn't play. But I think more so you can deal with a shoulder injury while playing, all right, especially if it's going to be for the World Cup. And it's crazy to see just how much of an impact Salah has on Egypt. I mean, it's pretty much they're waiting on pins and needles waiting to see. And I hope it's one of those things where the Egyptian doctors that looked at him did diagnose him correctly and all that because, I mean, there is a lot of pressure for him to be on the field for Egypt once the World Cup gets here. Okay? It's probably one of the biggest moments for that country as far as anything that's gone on. All right? And usually in places like that, like you see people are saying like there's a lot of chaos going on, but everyone can just take a moment and unite a bit when you're watching Egypt play. All right? So it would be better for Salah to be out there, but I just hope that he's not rushing anything or anything like that. All right. But Liverpool, I mean, they're going to be a good team. I'm not really worried about them. It's just a matter of they need to keep their top players. You can't be having them leave like Coutinho left to Barca and also Suarez. Okay. You need to start keeping your talent and bringing in more talent rather than letting it go. So we'll see what ends up happening. I mean, now pretty much with the Champions League final over, we look forward to the World Cup. That's going to be going on in a few weeks. We got friendlies going on today as pretty much preparing for the World Cup. So we'll see what ends up happening as we get along. All right, but as far as Madrid goes, that's 4 Champions League in 5 years. I mean, that's just pure dominance in Europe. Okay, and like I say, would I rather win my league title or would I rather win the Champions League title? It's always going to be Champions League given that you're playing the best of the best out there in Europe. So, I mean, good on Madrid for winning. Like I said, I do think that Ramos, from my personal opinion, did intentionally hurt Salah. All right, he's a great defender, but needs to get away from those dirty tactics. But nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be recapping Game 6 between Houston and Golden State and also talking about Game 7 in this third segment. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked Celtics-Cavs Game 7. Cavs won that one 87-79. LeBron going to his 8th straight finals. Cavs, this will be their 4th, which is ridiculous, but nonetheless, yeah, they ended up winning that game. Boston's going to be a good team going forward, but it wasn't their time yet. They're too young, and I mean, when you only win one game on the road, you really don't deserve to make it to the finals. All right, and that's just fact of the matter. Talked about the Champions League final between Real Madrid and Liverpool. Madrid won that one 3-1. All right, a lot of storylines to talk about there that we did. Obviously, Ramos taking down Salah and injuring his shoulder. Bale and his bicycle kick goal. Karius not playing well. I mean, it was a lot of everything in that game. But nonetheless, like I said, I mean, Madrid won the game and deservedly so. Okay, if Salah's out there and didn't get hurt, I think it's a different ball game. But nonetheless, I mean, he got hurt. That's what it is. We can't think about the ifs. All right, so Madrid was the better team out there. Now we're gonna head back to basketball. Talk about Game 6 between the Warriors and Rockets, and then talk about Game 7 right after that for this segment. All right, so Game 6 comes. Okay, Chris Paul's not playing. Iguodala's not playing. I don't put too much into Iguodala not playing. I get that he helps out in the defense and all that, but nonetheless, you got 4 All-Stars on that team. You're not going to get much sympathy from anyone, and they don't deserve it. All right. But nonetheless, okay, Chris Paul being out for the Rockets was a big problem. But Rockets come out first quarter, and they are on fire. They're up 39-22, okay. End up finishing the half, I think up 10, I believe, yeah. And then once the second half comes, it was all Warriors. I mean, it's ridiculous how when you're watching this team, they just flip the switch, okay? But nonetheless, game ended 115-86. For the Rockets, you had Trevor Ariza, who had 14 points, 4 rebounds, shot 6 of 18, 2 of 9 from the three-point line. PJ Tucker had 6 points, 8 rebounds, shot 2 of 6. Clint Capella played 29 minutes, only had 2 points, did have 15 rebounds, though. James Harden had 32 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 3 steals. Did have 9 turnovers, which was a problem. He shot 10 of 24. Eric Gordon had 19 points, 2 rebounds, shot 7 of 12, 4 of 6 from the three-point line. And then off the bench, you had Gerald Green, who had led the bench with 11 points. He shot 4 of 6, 3 of 4 from the three-point line. And, I mean, no one else off that bench really did anything. Joe Johnson scored 2 points. Luke Mbah-a-Moute didn't score. Ryan Anderson didn't score there. All right. And like I said, no Chris Paul in that one because of a hamstring injury. For the Warriors, we had Draymond Green, who had 4 points, 5 blocks, 4 steals, 9 assists, 10 rebounds. A classic Draymond Green game there. Shot 2 of 3. Kevin Durant had 23 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 6 of 17, 1 of 5 from the three-point line. Kevin Looney had 4 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, shot 2 of 6. Steph Curry had 29 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 12 of 23, 5 of 14 from the three-point line. Klay Thompson, I'm not sure what it is about him and Game 6s, but the dude is a monster. Okay, Klay Thompson, I hate talking about the killer instinct or anything like that, but there are guys who want it in the big moments. They want the ball. Klay Thompson is one of those guys. All right, he had 35 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals, shot 13 of 23, 9 of 14 from the three-point line. And my gosh, when Klay Thompson is on, he is absolutely on. Sean Livingston had 6 points. He shot 3 of 5. Pat McCaw came back in this one. Good little moment. He played 4 minutes, had 2 points, 2 rebounds, and a steal. Nick Young had 5 points. Nick Young put in some productive minutes there. Okay, played 16 minutes, was a +9. Like I said, he had 5 points there. And you had Jordan Bell, who played 21 minutes. He had 3 points, 6 rebounds, and an assist. Also had a block. He's going to be a nice little solid player for them going forward. David West played 5 minutes, all in garbage time. I mean, he had 2 points there. And Zaza Pachulia played 3 minutes. Yeah. All right, so like I said, I mean, Rockets jumped out to a hot start. I was honestly surprised. Okay, I was watching the game with a couple family members. They're big Warriors fans and all that. And you could tell they were scared. All right, and by the way, just put that out there, I am not a Warriors fan. Okay, but nonetheless, I was watching the game with them. You could tell they were worried. And I'm watching the game thinking, wow, Houston's going to pull this off. And I know it was early, okay? And I understand the whole thing with the Warriors is that they will flip the switch whenever and they will make a big run and get back into it. But it's just the one where you're like, the Warriors don't have it right now. Okay, it just seemed like one of those games where it's like they're just not going to have it and Houston is just ready. And I was shocked because you know what? This was at Oracle. This was in Oakland, okay? Warriors, they basically are impossible to beat there, just like the Seahawks were before this past season in Seattle. All right? That's how the Warriors have been, but nonetheless, I mean, they jumped out to a slow start, but eventually once the second half got here, I mean, there was no stopping them, okay? And one thing, too, I want to say is Kevin Durant, like I mentioned Klay Thompson, okay? He wants the ball in the big moments, okay? He can handle it. He thrives during those moments. Kevin Durant is the complete opposite, okay? I'm not sure what it is, and it's just some guys have it and some guys don't. And it's not a problem whether you do or don't, obviously, because we're not going to go and pretty much put this against Kevin Durant saying, oh, yeah, he doesn't got the clutch gene. He doesn't have the killer instinct, okay? But nonetheless, I mean, it is a bit of a problem when your best scorer one of your best scorers, just basically does not show up in the fourth quarter. Okay? And it's been this entire series. He hasn't really shown up in the big moments. All right? Like him passing the ball to Clay with the time winding down. I think it was, in Game 4, I think it was? That's a problem. Okay? That is. But nonetheless, I mean, we got Game 7 coming up tonight. This is a game where Kevin Durant's really going to need to put it together because Kevin Durant, honestly, has not been great this series. Of course, he's going to put up 20-plus a game, but that's the way it should be. All right? He should be doing that. That's the bare minimum he should be giving to the Warriors. Okay? I could care less if it's a bad game or whatever, but when you're not being as consistent as you should be, it's going to be a problem. All right? One of the bad things, I guess, about Game 7 is just that we're not going to have Chris Paul in here, okay? I would have very much liked to see Chris Paul playing in this game. And it's not like he's not playing for sure, but it's more than likely that he won't be, okay? And like I said, I mean, on Friday, I think it was, we were talking about it, and it's just the point where if the guy's missing Saturday with a hamstring injury, there's no way he's going to be 100% for Monday, all right? It just doesn't work out that way. And I'm not sure if the hamstring is strained or if he just tore it, okay? But nonetheless, if I'm Chris Paul and it's not torn, I feel like you got to go out there and you got to at least give it a shot. Okay? Test it out in the first couple of minutes. I understand they try and do that and shoot around and all that, and that's probably what it's going to be. I mean, I guess right now he'd be a game time decision, but it's a point where it's Game 7, and you got to, I guess, just try to give it all you got. Okay? And if he can't play, he can't play. I'm not saying that that's going to be a problem or anything like that, but at least, check, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like I said, they probably do that and shoot around, so, I mean, if it's not feeling great then, it's not going to feel great later, so I'm not bad. All right? But nonetheless, I mean, for this game, it's just a point of the Rockets have to play their most complete game of the season here. Okay? It's not how it was for Game 6, where you jump out to a big lead in the first half, and you pretty much just give it away after that. Okay? They got to be pretty much ready to go from the beginning. All right? And obviously, we've had the talk about James Harden and James Harden in big games. Okay? Hasn't really showed up. And it's just like KD and a bunch of other players in the league. It's just maybe the moment is too big and they just don't want the ball in their hands. Guys like Klay Thompson do, but guys like Kevin Durant, James Harden just, I don't know, they freeze up. All right? James Harden's, if they're going to win, James Harden is going to have to go out for at least 40, I feel. All right? I think that's he's got to. That's the way it's got to be. Okay? You're going to get production from guys like Trevor Ariza, I feel, tonight. PJ Tucker's a guy who plays well in the big games. But it's a point where James Harden's just got to show up. There's no excuse here. Okay? And I'm not expecting the Rockets to go out and win. But if James Harden were to go out, drop 40, play well, and they still lose, I mean, I don't think that really hurts them too much, given that Chris Paul is out. Okay, and I've been seeing, too, the Warriors keep catching breaks. Chris Paul's out. Kyrie and Kevin Love were out in that one finals, okay, and they've been playing teams who have been hurt and all that. Let's stop that, please. It's not the Warriors' fault that these other guys can't stay healthy or whatever. You go out and you play the guys that are in front of you, okay? And whoever's out there is whoever you're playing. So I think we need to pump the brakes a bit as far as saying that they haven't played anyone's best, okay? Because, you know what, it might be true, but fact of the matter is they're winning out here year after year for a reason, all right? But nonetheless, I mean, like I said, Chris Paul's probably not going to play. Andre Iguodala definitely is not playing. I mean, as much as I'd like to see Houston advance just to see it switched up a bit as far as the finals, it's going to be the Warriors, I think, who win tonight, okay? And it's just a point where, I mean, Houston probably played about as well as he could. I didn't expect them to go 7 games. And I think I was in the minority there. I'm sure people were expecting a good series, but for me, I thought it was going to be Golden State in 5. Okay, Houston did well this series, and they do have a chance. I'm not trying to write them off or anything like that, but it's going to be difficult to beat this Warriors team where Chris Paul isn't playing, and he's pretty much just dominated them this series. So we'll see what ends up happening. But like I said, I got the Warriors winning tonight, Game 7, which would mean it'd be another Cavs-Warriors finals, which, I mean, if you look at that, I don't see how the Cavs would take a game. Cavs against the Rockets, though, would be a bit of a different one, I think. I think the Cavs could take a couple games against the Rockets. So, I mean, if you want a good finals, you're probably rooting for the Rockets. If you just want to see the Warriors win, or you just think they're going to win, they probably are. All right, so I got the Warriors winning tonight. And it's going to be interesting to see just how this Houston team reacts, especially at home. All right, so we'll see what ends up happening, but I'm going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be heading into the fourth segment, talking about anything else that crosses my mind as far as sports and talk about anything else that's going on in sports. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked Celtics. We talked Cavs Celtics. All right, Cavs ended up winning that game 7. We talked Liverpool, Real Madrid. Real Madrid won that one 3-1, and then we talked Game 6 between the Warriors and Rockets, and then previewed a bit of tonight's game. Just give my thoughts on it all. I got the Warriors winning, and it's just I don't see how the Rockets could win without Chris Paul. All right, I think even with Chris Paul, the Warriors would be the favorites. Let's see, they're currently favored about 5.5 right now. It's a lot of points, but nonetheless, I mean, James Harden's never really shown us that he can go out and do it in the big time. All right, as good as he's been in the regular season, all that, it's just when it comes to the big playoff games, he usually shrinks. Okay, so I got to wait and see what he's going to do tonight. But yeah, I got the Warriors winning tonight, and I don't think that's like a bad pick or anything like that. So we'll see what ends up happening. But nonetheless, now we're going to talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. So let's talk about it. All right. Let's see. I believe his name is Cassius Marsh. Okay. Former New England Patriots player. Says that playing in New England is not fun. There's nothing fun about it. Okay. It made him question whether or not he continued wanting to play football. And we've seen this from time to time with players who didn't really work out in New England. Okay. Well, not even just that. Like a guy like Chris Long, who did work out in New England, played well, said that it's not the best place to play. Okay. Obviously, you're going to learn a lot and all that, but out there in New England, they treat it as a job. Okay. And you see some of these teams, they realize that they are playing a game. Okay. They do. Football is something, it's a children's game that if you get good enough, you can play it as an adult and get paid handsomely for it. Okay, and the Patriots are kind of that team where I have this thing, okay? As far as however far I make it in this little media career and all that, I'm not sure. But I have this thing where you try not to take yourself too seriously. Because, I mean, fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, I'm not a doctor who's saving lives, okay? I'm not a construction worker who's building houses, all right? Or any of that. I'm just a guy who's sitting in a chair right now, talking through a mic about sports, okay? For you guys to listen. And thank you to the ones that do. All right? So that's one thing with me, okay? As far as how far I go in this career, hopefully I never take myself too seriously. The Patriots, I'm kind of like putting a little comparison because they're playing a children's game. They're not saving lives or anything like that. They're not. It's in reality, if you think about it, you're not really doing anything too important, okay? It's all entertainment stuff. And that's why we love it. But nonetheless, the Patriots are that team where they probably do take themselves seriously, and it's worked out. Okay? Because that's why they've won so many championships. That's why they've been so dominant for, the past 20 years? Okay? 20 or so years, a little bit less. And that's just one thing you got to buy into if you're playing for the Patriots, that little philosophy where you're not coming to have fun. They don't care that this is a children's game. You're there to do a job. All right? And I mean, that's just the price you got to pay in order to win. Some guys can do it, some guys can't. All right? Teddy Bruschi's a guy who I guess just thrives off of the Patriot way stuff. That's a guy who probably, I don't know. I remember when Chad Johnson was saying that, I mean, it's amazing how the way that the Patriots run and all that, the way that they, not run, but like the philosophy and stuff like that, it's just completely different. Teddy Bruschi got mad at that. I mean, it's an eye-opening thing. No other team has ran like the Patriots, I feel, as far as their philosophies and all that. All right? But as far as, I mean, we've seen Lane Johnson talk about it. He never played for the Patriots, but he made a comment one time talking about how he'd rather, and it was taken a little bit misconstrued as comment, but he pretty much mentioned how, I mean, it's a lot funner than winning a Super Bowl rather than having no fun and winning 5, something like that. I'm paraphrasing there. But nonetheless, I mean, I understand it, okay? I understand it both ways. I mean, you do got to do a lot of work in order to become as great as they are, and that's just the price you got to pay. But also, I mean, like I said, you are playing a children's game, so obviously I'm sure you want to have a little bit of fun doing it, at least enjoying your job, okay? So, I mean, there's two ways about it. It's like I said, it's good for some and it's not good for some. Okay, Chad Johnson couldn't handle it. Corey Dillon, a guy who was a hothead, pretty much fit perfectly in it when he got there. Cassius Marsh obviously didn't enjoy it. And what Chris Long, I said, I remember he was doing an interview and he said he learned a lot, but like he said, it's just not that fun. All right, it's a job out there. So I have no problem with the comments or anything like that. You see Patriots fan, and Patriots fans, I mean, Patriots fans are different. I'll just say that. All right, they worship their team, which I think is a bit much as a fan. Okay, in reality, where, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just a bit odd and a bit much if you're out there worshiping your team, pretty much just living and dying by them. I used to be that way too, but eventually you realize it's just sports. All right, but nonetheless, I mean, like I said, Cassius Marsh, I understand what he's saying. I've never played for the Patriots or anything like that, but I mean, you've seen other people talk about it, and it's not the easiest thing to do. Okay, it's very complex to go out and play for the Patriots. All right, but nonetheless, I wanted to give some thoughts on that. First time ever talking lacrosse. Yale won their national title for lacrosse. Beat Duke. That's all I got to say about that. Tonight we got game 1 between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals. Okay. Alex Ovechkin never won a Stanley Cup final. Vegas, this is the first time they've ever been able to be in a Stanley Cup final. All right. This is very, very, very intriguing because you don't have a team that's been there before. All right. I'm sure the Capitals have before, but now with these group of guys. It is going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top and pretty much who plays like the vets. All right. Obviously, I mean, you got a bunch of guys who were picked off of expansion drafts and all that for Vegas. You got guys who have came close but came up short for Washington. And I think that as great as a story Vegas has been, this is it. I don't see them winning. I can't see them winning, but I just don't think they're going to. All right, my pick for this series is going to be Washington. And I think it's just a point where I think Washington is the better team. Okay? But I would not put it past Vegas as far as winning this Stanley Cup final. So we're just going to have to wait and see how it all ends up. But like I said, I mean, neither team has really been here before. All right? Vegas especially. But it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening. All right? So other thoughts that I got. I've been seeing a lot of why wasn't Kyrie there for Game 7, okay? And people have really tried their hardest to push this narrative of Kyrie's not really too happy about how far the Celtics made it without him. Stephen A. Smith is the guy who's talked about it. Chris Broussard's brought it up. And there's no basis to that at all. It's all just theory, okay? It's all just opinion. And that's one thing I don't really like about the media now is they try to create these narratives in order to push a story or just talk about something for a few days, given that they can't talk about anything else. But it's a point where it's a bit ridiculous, okay? So Kyrie did miss Game 7. Wasn't there. on the bench with the team because he had nasal surgery. And I mean, the Celtics have always been a team ran where, I mean, if you're hurt, then you're hurt, and there's nothing really for you to be there. All right, they're going to run with the guys they got there. Okay, I'm sure Kyrie wanted to be there, but it's a point of what's he going to do there? All right, I don't know. So I don't have a problem with Kyrie not being there. I don't think it's a story or anything like that. I mean, if you paid attention to him throughout the playoffs, he's been excited. He's probably been the biggest cheerleader off the bench. All right. Of course, maybe you could have used his little experience, maybe give some words of wisdom and all that about Game 7. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, it's the guys who are dressed up, ready to play that are going to be out there. Okay, Kyrie's not. So I have no problem with it. I mean, he's going to be back there next year. It's going to be his team. He's going to be the starting point guard. Terry Rozier's already talked about it. Okay, so, I mean, this whole little thing of trying to turn Kyrie against the Celtics or trying to say that Kyrie isn't happy with how far they've made, it's lazy. It's extremely lazy. All right? So, I mean, that's all I got to say about that. Celtics are a team with a very bright future, probably the brightest future in the NBA, given that they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals with a bunch of young kids and took a LeBron James-led team to 7 games. All right? And, I mean, in theory, on paper, the Celtics probably were the better team, if that makes sense. But nonetheless, I mean, you're adding Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward next year. That's going to be a problem for opposing teams. All right, you already made it to the finals, or Eastern Conference Finals, and brought it 7 games. And the Celtics have always been a team that's improved since Brad Stevens got there. First year, they didn't make the playoffs. Second year, they do, get swept. Second year, they make it to the first round, win a couple games, then lose. The year after that, they end up making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, losing 5 to Cleveland. This year, they're losing 7 to Cleveland. So it's been a constant improvement. All right. So we'll see what ends up happening with them. Now it's just a matter of LeBron is going to be in the finals, so we're going to have to wait for all the where's LeBron going chatter till after they're done there. All right. And, I mean, he could end up in LA, could end up in Houston, or he could pretty much help build up that Philly-Boston rivalry if he goes to the Sixers next year. All right. And that would allow us to see Kyrie Irving versus LeBron James a whole lot more. So we'll see what ends up happening, but we're going to wrap it up here. Like I said, today we talked Celtics-Cavs Game 6. We talked Champions League Final, Madrid winning 3-1 against Liverpool. We talked Game 6 between the Warriors and Rockets, previewed Game 7 a bit, and then for this segment, talked about Cassius Marsh's comments about New England not being a fun place to play. I mean, that's not news or anything like that. I feel like we've all known that, but nonetheless, I mean, it is difficult to go out and play in New England. All right. Mentioned that Yale won the lacrosse national championship, and also talked a bit about the Celtics as far as their future and Kyrie Irving and all that. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I will be back tomorrow to talk Game 7 between Houston and Golden State. Make sure you check that one out. So we're all on the same page tomorrow. But nonetheless, like I said, thanks for listening. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.